Yeah, this is a story of duality of a human spirit, for sure. That's the focus of the story. It's what makes it interesting, I think. I mean, Kuklinski wasn't the only person to ever commit a contract killing, you know. There are several hitmen, as it were, throughout the decades. But I think what made it interesting was that he didn't really have any affiliations with any particular family. He was Polish, so he could never be inducted into any of the families. He could never be a made man. He came from a very brutal upbringing, probably like a lot of these people do. But he did have a lot of rage. He was very mistreated as a child, and I think that's partially what made him capable of doing the things that he did. But he longed for a quiet life, and he really only did what he did because he felt like he wasn't really good at anything else. And he wanted to have a family, and he wanted to support them, and this is a way that he could do it. Well, Chris Evans was delightful to work with. He was very, very creative and full of energy and very serious about what he was doing. He really contributed a lot to the picture even being able to happen in the first place, you know. It's a very important role he plays. One of the only friends and colleagues that Richard ever had in his life. He was a loner, you know. He was a lone wolf, and but he really identified with this character that Chris plays. The 60s, 70s, and 80s, the stories that we're telling spans these 3 decades, and you know, there's a lot to do with hair, and we had a lot of pieces, sideburns, goatee, mustache, all different various looks. I think there wound up being like 4 or 5 looks, and that's a challenge, you know, working with that stuff, making sure it always looks passable, you know. It can be tricky, and a lot of costumes. We have our costume designer Donna was wonderful. Really found great looks for all the decades, and you know, just a sense that he's getting older, you know, because when the story starts, he's still pretty young. Just keeping track of the chronology of his story and his development as a person, you know. We shot out of order a lot of times, and nothing new there, you know. That's the way it's done. Well, I think the challenge for me playing the part was probably very similar to the challenge that Richard had in his own life, you know, going back and forth between these two worlds, and you know, making that authentic or believable in some strange way, you know. It's just hard to wrap your head around, you know. Fortunately, we did a lot of the violent stuff first, and then focused more on the family, the story of the family.